Go ahead.
Well, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome. I'm Mark Cooper from IAC and delighted to welcome, we have Cindy Novotny and we have Kim Pung from Master Connection Associates, who will be running and keeping us motivated, excited, determined, and driven for the next 60 minutes. Thank you very much for taking the time to be part of this webinar. Hopefully many of you have been a part of our series over the last few weeks where the incredible partners, Master Connection Associates, have been here for us as a community, as an IAC family as well. And I have to just say to both of you, every time I have a conversation outside of these sessions, everybody is telling us they've been on them, they've been participating. I was on the leadership call for Wyndham and Olche just last night, and they were all giving feedback on how valuable these have been to them. So you are helping many of us through this difficult path at the moment, but giving us clarity at the end. So with no further ado, other than to say, Kim will be graciously looking after the chat comment box and being able to relay your feedback. Kate and I will remain here, and we look forward to catching up and closing at the end. Over to you, Cindy.
Okay. It is saying that it's stopping it, but I got it. It went to 500. We upped, and there's more than 100 people on it. So let me just say to those of you, if somebody, Zoom is making me crazy. I don't know. I mean, we have upgraded. There's 500 people that we created to get on this. So, and we have more than 100 on now. So I don't know why it's saying that. But if it is, this is being recorded. It will be shared, and Kate will send it out to the entire, anybody that signed up for it will get a copy of it. She puts it out, she puts it out on an IAC link. And so you'll be able to hear it. So if anybody is asking about that, then please let us know. And then we'll look into this when we hang up. But in the midst of it, we can't do much crisis management, correct?
Right.
Is that the most of the chats or that?
Yeah, just two. Yeah, so far. So we'll.
Okay. All right. Then I'm going to go ahead. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to get started on this. Hang on one second. Okay, there we go. All righty. So again, I want to welcome everybody. I am Cindy Novotny with Master Connection Associates, and with me is Kim Pung. We are thrilled that we have all of you again to listen to us. We have done so many of these that at times I keep thinking, will we have anything new to say? But then every single day we wake up, there's something new going on with COVID. So we do feel this is very, very relevant because this, as we said, are creative ways to prepare to come out of this situation. We will come out of this situation. It's important that everybody knows that. But as we've said before, this is not the new normal at all. And although we are going to do, including with IAC, a lot of virtual hybrid type meetings, because many of them were coming up too soon for us to be able to, you know, get everybody back on planes and going places. There is a today type of focus and a tomorrow. So what I want everybody to do is get their head around, and we've said this, and many of you have been on all of our webinars. There's a today team and a tomorrow team. I look at tomorrow as what am I going to do when the hotel's open, the conference center's open? What am I going to do differently than I did yesterday? Now, this is highly important because if you don't start putting some of those plans in action, as we begin to move out of it, you're going to be caught off base when everybody just starts to go. So some of you have heard me and see me on social media say the world is closed for renovation. We are all getting ready for a grand opening. And I genuinely mean that. Normally in any major city or destination globally around the world, we'll have one new conference center, one new hotel, resort open up amongst everybody else, or it would have been shut for renovation. It's having a grand opening. Never before have we seen everybody shut and everybody's going to open within a month or two of each other. That is going to cause a lot of angst, I believe, for salespeople that have not been proactive, for salespeople and leaders that did not share with customers what their plan of reopening is. Marriott came out loud and clear yesterday. They were the first big hotel company to hit the media with, here's our disinfectant plan, our cleansing plan, how we're going to open. And I was on with some of their big brand competitors. Every one of them said, wow, they beat us. They beat us to the punch with the CEO speaking to everyone, all employees, and to media and to customers. They've beat everybody to the punch on here's our plan of going out of this. So this is where you need to say to your teams, all right, whether you're in charge or not, you need to say to your team, your GMs, your directors of sales and marketing, and if you are a leader, you need to say, here's our plan, here's what we're doing. If you're part of a big organization, we have a few of you as members of IAC, you need to be saying to your leaders, we cannot stumble around on this, because those that put this plan out and those that start to proactively get the hotels ready to go are going to win more business at the beginning. I can assure you of that. I worked with Disney during 9/11. So I worked for them for many years just as an employee, and then we did all their training for many years. But at 9/11, I was doing training for Paris and for Orlando and here in California. And when I worked for Disney, of course, the happiest place on earth, you never want to see any security. They made it a point, like, don't make security should be not seen. We want them to be kind of quiet in the background, right? After 9/11, I never saw bigger badges in my life. People walking around like security, because the optics were as important as the reality. And that's what we have to look at. Now, I want to get a feel of everybody listening. When has your leadership team said you may reopen? I've put a couple different things. Whoops. Right here. Let me go to my poll. And I'm going to launch it. When has your leadership team say you may reopen? All right, here we go. End of May, middle of May, June, fall, don't know. Okay, they're still coming in. I'm going to wait a minute because this is very interesting. Okay, I'm going to end it and I'm going to share. Okay, so a lot say June, all right? A lot say don't know, but June definitely is sticking out. That's actually very encouraging, I think, right? So knowing that, all right, this next one, hang on, let me just go back to this real quick so I can. What specific messaging has your leadership given you regarding what will look different when you reopen? Like, will there be no bar stools in the bars? Will you only sell 50% at the hotel? I didn't do a polling question on this. I want you to actually type in the chat, and then Kim can just get some answers. So I'm looking for things that they might have told you. If they didn't tell you anything, then say, they're not talking to us, and then we'll give you another example of what you need to do about that. But I'm looking for things that, we're going to have a complete cleaning crew. We're going to, let's see, distancing chairs in meeting rooms. We have a 17-point plan at this stage we're working on. I love it. They aren't talking to us. So this is not good. So we'll come back. And we're not, saying who's saying what, but.
I can read through all of them.
Good. All right, go
Okay,
ahead.
so there's, after those first couple, there's quite a few that say distance chairs and such. We have a 17-point plan. I'm not sure yet. Reducing seats in meeting rooms. They aren't talking to us. No one has said anything as we are waiting for guidance, but we are prepared to do what is required. Another have a whole list of changes, mainly F&B and cleaning standards. Another, no picture of the scope ahead of reopening. One mentions hybrid meetings. Another, strong disinfecting routine, no self-serve buffets. Another, we are talking about limiting the number of attendees, serving food in a different way, not buffet. Special messages for how we will reopen has not been communicated. I am seeing many looking for advice on this, but only Win Las Vegas saying 6-foot rule. We've had no communication, temperature checks as employees enter, social distancing measures for meeting rooms. Cleanliness will be a top priority. We're expecting meetings to be half the size and needing twice the space. Not yet rebooking meetings until 2021. Cleaning possible, different service, consolidation of venues. They are asking me to create a plan, essentially reducing capacity by 1/3 for most. We are working on distancing for meetings and looking at broadcasting to other rooms, cleaning taking place whilst we are out. I work for a student union at a university. We're trying to figure out what the best options are for our meeting spaces. Our board of directors is meeting on Friday and hopefully have more information. One says it feels like no one knows. Another says masks in use, shoe wash, biohazard garbage receptacle, cutting board, and serving tool replacement under 60 minutes. 100% glove usage, overnight peroxide spray down, self-serve safe, 100% compliance, FOH, BOH, weekly food safety audit, drink container, storage area, staff buffets. These people are very
Okay,
detailed.
good. All right, well, this is good. And we'll have all these, which is great.
Yeah, we can publish all of this after.
And Mark, did you have something to say?
Only to make comment to that first reference, was we're still waiting to hear from our leadership. And just to say that I've had a lot of conversations with leadership who are equally looking for the answers themselves. One of the only definitive links to getting to an answer is being able to get some clear messaging from government, from local authorities, health authorities, which will come at the point of them easing lockdown and giving a date for a return. So undoubtedly you will get those conditions. My only last point related to that is it doesn't stop you scenario planning though. What if we're given that condition? What if we have to impose the same physical distancing as we have seen in grocery stores or in pharmacists? So no definitive answers, but scenario planning, plenty of that happening at the moment.
Good,
and I'll just add one comment because I think it's important what you just said too, Mark. Somebody just said, leadership can't make the decision without hearing from us and clients alongside the government guidelines. And so in that respect, sales has to be sharing with leadership what the clients are saying and their feeling on when they're feeling like they want to come back too.
Exactly. And if you're in the US, okay, because we have people from all over the world, you all know every state is doing their own decisions and their own compliance. So I agree with that last point. As a salesperson, we need to be sharing all the way up what are the important things clients are asking for, because there are some clients that aren't as concerned about some of this stuff as others, okay? So we do want to make sure we're sharing that information. I think that's very, very important. So one of the things, and let me just move this real quick. One of the things that it says, how did you overcome past crisis? We thought we'd just share this because I think it's important to know. As the impact of COVID-19 lessens and demand increases, it is crucial that hotels act in a proactive manner by effectively managing room rates, marketing offers to maximize revenue. Hotels are the fastest to drop their room rates, and who provide the heaviest discounts will often be the last ones to recover when demand eventually returns. Many hotels will not be able to return to their normal rates instantly after demand for travel returns. And this came from Global Data. Now, I can't stress this enough. And even with your audiovisual partners, whether it's PSAV or whoever it is, make sure we are not immediately saying if you're going to do a hybrid meeting, we'll take care of all the audiovisual. Many of these clients, we've been on the phone with the Microsofts of the world and the Deloittes, where on the meeting teams and the corporate travel teams, they're going to be paying for this. They were going to have a meeting of, let's say, 200 people, and now they're going to have a meeting of 50, and they're going to live stream it. They're prepared to pay for this. They're not going to have all those flights to pay for. So it is important that you actually don't immediately start dropping those prices. Very, very important. This we thought was interesting to share. The duration of effect. And Kim, if any questions come in about something, just interrupt me.
Yep, I will.
Okay. Duration of effects of environmental shocks of U.S. hotel performance. So if you look at this, you can see, and Kim, do you want to kind of just walk through this? Because I think it's very interesting.
Yes, and then you can take a look at that question that just popped up. So the whole point of this is just to show that kind of what Cindy talked about way back at the beginning, how this is a big V curve. And obviously the bottom of our V is probably lasting a little bit longer than past issues have lasted. But just looking at hotel performance, the 4 months after 9/11 and then the 4 months after the financial crisis, things do rebound pretty quickly. And so that's encouraging. We're hearing encouraging word from what Cindy shared this morning. We're hearing some encouraging things, obviously, out of Asia too. So we are hoping, of course, that this will rebound as quickly as it went down, but it'll look very different, I think, than how it looked as we recovered from 9/11 and the 2008 crisis.
I think I didn't see another question. I saw some.
Okay, so there was a question that said, can we talk about DMP and VDMP rates?
A daily meeting, are you meaning daily meeting, the daily meeting plan? Is that what you're talking about? So I make sure. Can we talk about?
Yeah, I think probably, Cindy, we're talking about RevPAR here and occupancy change. Maybe somebody's
Lisa,
looking
do you
to
want
see
to
what the
expand?
impact might be on CMP rates.
Yeah. Lisa, why don't you expand? Is that what you call your daily? Yeah,
yes, daily meeting packages
and
virtual day.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure we're on the same thing. So obviously, I don't believe we should be discounting I don't believe there should be discounting, okay? So you're gonna have less people. So even if you have a daily meeting plan, okay, a daily delegate package, whatever you might call it, that's still gonna be that plan for the people there. Then there's going to be the hybrid. You're gonna have to be pricing that out. So if you're coming up with a hybrid pricing plan, there's no discounting in that, because your daily meeting plan, that we're gonna already be not coming back with the same kind of revenue that we had when we only have 50 people versus 100, and they're streaming to the other 50 people. So we're already going to be making less money. So to me, I am, and again, I'm vice president in charge of none of you, and we know that, but I would not at all enter into this with any discounting in mind. I would look at, when you package it together, it's for seamless selling. I look at any packaging as seamless selling anyway. It makes it easier for the client. But that's where we have to know how much this is going to cost from our audiovisual partner, okay? And that's going to be really vitally important. Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, there was a question that came, and I think it might have been back when we were all discussing what the plan was, but there was one question if IAC was coming out with their own standards, and maybe Mark can address that specifically. And I think it was in reference to the return versus rates.
Is IAC coming up with their own cleanliness or how many chairs?
At the moment, we're working on a set of guidelines, and we're pulling from various sources in regards to the standards. We won't set global standards because, of course, we're in 26 countries, and so much of those are linked to governmental standards. But what we are doing is we're creating our own guidelines of different approaches. So let me give you an example. Those which are already out there that have been fastest to market, very much focused around guest rooms, restaurant, service, etc. They're not focusing on the areas which are very relevant to us. Shared break stations, buffet stations, so that's where we're really focusing our attention rather than recreating the wheel. So at the moment we are working on those. They will be a set of options and guidelines that you can take. as opposed to IAC adjusting its quality standards. But yes, we recognize there's a definite need for that, and we're working on it.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So back to the whole financial. It is obviously every one of you are going to work with your own leadership team and do this. But as an outsider, as a person that has seen this happen before, this is not a time. We're going to be doing a lot more things. If you think about it, we're going to be changing a lot more things. There's going to be more costs involved in a lot of what we're going to do. So by lowering price, it's going to get even a little bit crazier. So I stick with that. So, and if anything else pops up, because I feel this is a webinar that this is not about me just rattling through things. I want you to ask questions, and we'll give the best genuine information. Mark is on. If we don't know it, then we'll make a note and figure out a way to come back to you on it. But as a salesperson, first and foremost, think community first, your small local business, because we do believe that's going to come back first. So even if you have, like, you're in a destination, a city where there's some headquarter companies by you, making sure, but let's say their meeting planning and stuff comes out of another office. Work that local office, work those PAs, work it, and then you'll start seeing a wider perspective, I believe, globally. But you've got to be community oriented. You've got to be focused locally. Be as inclusive as you can be with all the other partners. They're vendors, but I call them partners. Have as many conversations with your local hotel groups and find out what everybody's seeing. People are sharing more information now, and they will up until a certain point, I think, and then we'll go back into that competitive mood. Adapt the strategy. So someone mentioned that they've got a 15-point plan and all this, which is great. So we're looking at the fact that first we're going to have to just survive through this, because we don't even know. I mean, to set up a meeting room, our whole thing was, we want to be able to meet and then feed and do all this in such a seamless way, and that's what conference centers were designed for. So you want to think about how we will survive, right, and get through that with that positive attitude. Then I believe as we end this year, we will be thriving. Like, we'll go into 2021 really, I think, very strong, because people are already sick and tired of not traveling. They're already, I mean, I've said it before, the revenge spending, the revenge travel. The restaurants, everybody is like, I can't wait to get in. That's why, and again, I'm talking in my own part of Southern California. People really, really are looking forward to this being over. So that tells me they're going to get back to getting things as normal as they can. You also want to make sure do not be so strict with these clients. Don't be, well, that's our policy. That's our policy. We're going to have to be agile and nimble in talking to these customers, because this is new to them too. And it can't just be, well, that's our new policy. That's the COVID policy. I hope we don't even ever say that word when it's over. I hope it's just, this is how we do things now. We're trying to be very thoughtful in how we set up our meeting space. We're very, concerned about making sure we have, ample space for all of your guests, not like COVID policy, COVID-19, COVID. I mean, I think that everyone will get so sick of that, because that's going to kind of put a damper. So if you're more agile, well, here's how we're setting it up. Let's talk through it. Question everything that is given to you by your leadership. How do I present that to the customer? How can we make that sound better? So behave and think as you're going to do things differently, but practice saying these things with one another. Mark, thoughts?
It was when you were talking about strategy, and also linked to the question that we had below, which is how do we price a hybrid meeting package? And I'm kind of reading between the lines, and I'm going to throw a scenario out for you, Cindy, to see if this is the right approach or the wrong approach. So I'm looking at it very simply. The amount of people that are going to be in the room in my conference center, they will take on my DMP, my CMP packaging. then they may need that platform, which is the virtual hybrid connection on an equivalent of Zoom, and they have another 50 attending. At the moment, or in the past, we've never been interested in providing a service of providing that platform and the registration for those 50 attendees to come in remotely. It's a different service though, and on Friday last week, we ran one of our shorts on technology with a number of the venue operators saying that they're now evaluating, the IT and AV teams are evaluating the platforms so they can offer that service. So think of it now, DMP, CMP, our other package will be, we can get you to the rest of the world. And this is how we'll do it, and we'll handle the registrations. So we may become a registration and online service as well as a physical meeting provider as well. What's your thoughts?
I 100% agree and love that. The key is I don't have to discount it. That's the key. I love, because I want to add more service. I want to be able to say, we can do all the registration, we can handle, you know, managing that. I mean, just like doing this, you see just these Zoom meetings alone. I mean, reading all the questions, doing all that. So if I'm running a meeting with 50 people in the meeting room, and I've got speakers that are calling in, and now over to you in Brussels. And like, you know, it's like what we're going through where we upgrade to 500 and they don't even do it for this call. It's like nonsense. So if you have a professional team running that for you, you're going to be so much better off. And people will pay for that, because not all these companies, and I know because many of the law firms that we do their training for, we will train in New York City in an office. And we are streaming live to the London office, to the California office, and it's difficult as a facilitator. I can tell you right now, I'm looking at screens all over the room saying, and now London, I see you have a question. And sometimes I forget the screens are even up there, and it's like I'm ignoring everybody but the 50 people in the room. So if you have to have all the value propositions down. So that's why the partnering and putting a package together is not about making it like we're giving you a deal. It's about look at the value that we're doing for you, because as a planner, this is going to be headache central. You see what I mean? So I think it's going to be very valuable.
And the two scenarios are, we've either got small meeting providers that would not have the support internally to provide this, or we've got those, as we're predicting, that are trading down from the very large meetings into smaller meetings. So they can't afford the on-site production teams that they may have brought along before to manage it. A real opportunity for a venue that's got an in-house AV and IT team with competence, with ability. I totally agree with you, Cindy. We're in the pound seat.
100%. Great. So with all of that in mind, and that's exactly what we just were talking about, you have to adapt strategy for right now. And those of you that said the leaders aren't talking to you, and I give no one any break, okay? I mean, I'm the one that started, my very first website was Bust a Boss, so let's be clear, okay? It's still active, okay? I have zero time for no communication. Doesn't mean if I'm your leader and I don't know what's going on, I'm going to say that to you. I'm going to say, I have no idea. I'm trying to get our owners to tell us what we're doing. That's okay. I can buy that. But we can't at all as salespeople, whether I'm working or furloughed, I can't be in the dark. And that scares me, because if you're in the dark, you are going to be passed by from all the salespeople that are going to be much more connected. And we have worked with IAC to build such a fine reputation of making sure people understand that we're in the business of meetings. We're in the business of events. We're in the business. Those of you at resorts, we have done a great job of making sure we have hybrid. Think about it. We as an IAC, and I know we have a lot of, you could be on this, he opened it up to everyone, which I love. You may not be IAC, you should become that, because think about it, right? But as IAC, you have the ability to run a serious meeting with the serious type of chairs and tables and all the things, yet we're hybrid enough, we can flip it properly and do an incredible, campfire, an incredible, chili cook-off, an unbelievable wedding on the weekend. So we've transformed over the years to already be hybrid. I mean, without saying we were hybrid before hybrid was cool, okay? So we already get that. So being able to have that strategy now allows you to say, right now, right here, let's make sure we're mitigating these effects. I mean, keep connected. You have to, I've said it 100 times, 100 touch points, sales touch points a week, even if you're furloughed and listening to me. 100 a week, please listen to me. That is LinkedIn, that is sharing things, that's putting something on Instagram, that's seeing what's going on, ideas, cool, putting technology ideas out there, devoting time so that you are truly an advisor, you're trusted. People, I want people reaching out to you right now saying, what are your thoughts on doing a virtual meeting? There's no way, if you get that call and you don't know what to say, call one of us, okay? We'll give you at least something, if no boss will, all right? I would say, well, we've got an incredible hybrid team put together, whether you do or not. That would be you, me, in the room. And you know what we're doing right now is working on getting that for virtual led training and virtual led meetings, and we can do that really easy because we have this capability on property. I can, if you'd like, let's set up a phone appointment and make it like for a few days, and then get your head of operations or head of IT or head of audiovisual, who your partner is, have a little chat, then get them on the phone, become a consultant. This is a time to actually be not the smartest person in the room, but to add to the conversation. Not just take an inquiry, book it, turn it over to the conference planning team, like, well, you deal with it, okay? No, you want to be that consultative type of seller. Also, bouncing back quicker is, to me, I'm like, I can't tell you. I mean, I wish I had this much energy for like running or something. I mean, I would be like incredible. I probably could have run marathons, but I think that if you cut revenue generating activities, you're going to increase the length of the downturn and prolong your recovery. I mean, as I've said, and I'm not joking and I'm not being sarcastic, I've never worked harder in my life for no money. And I'm not kidding. I am up every day at 6 o'clock on the phone and I'm like loving it. I get ready. I mean, I think about my outfit. I mean, like, wow, okay, because I am going to bounce back quicker. And that's what I want you to do. Again, whether you're furloughed or working, I know furloughed. If you're in the UK and they're paying 80%, I know you can't be asked to work. You got to do it on your own low. But it is a world, really. You can stay connected. You can be listening on all the IAC short courses. You can be listening to everything, taking notes. And those activities are going to prepare you to come out, because that is how you engage to keep the customers to stay top of mind. Who will they remember? The closer we get to coming out of this, the more they're going to forget what you did 6 weeks ago. I've been talking to people, many of you have heard me, since March 15th. Was my very first webinar. Okay? Very first. I haven't stopped one day. On the weekends, I don't do webinars, but what I'm doing is talking to all kinds of clients, because my clients are calling me. They're from in Dubai, and you know, one of the biggest VPs of one of the largest hotel companies in Dubai is in his hermetically sealed, you know, high rise, and you know, in Dubai, like, they're serious about their rules. You know, here in LA, they say like you're supposed to be not on the park, and then scoot along, Johnny. In Dubai, you're not even going out. So he calls me on the weekends and we have chats. And he's single, he's by himself, and we chat. Like sometimes I'm out sitting on my patio for like 2 hours, because just because I did a webinar with his team a month ago, if I stopped engaging with him, he's going to forget that. Don't let the competition be seen or heard more than you. Do not. We're coming out of this. We're getting closer to coming out of this. Speeding up this recovery by building brand value and awareness is huge. I mean, I'll talk about forward in your future. You want to, Kim mentioned the Las Vegas hashtag only you
I don't know
campaign?
if you've seen the Las Vegas is running an ad campaign right now that basically says we're only thinking about you. You know, we've shut down, but we're preparing. Your safety is important to us. So there are ways, I think, to to market in a very sensitive and appropriate way that keeps you top of mind, that shows your brand value, which is why, so I mean, I have a friend who works in a distillery. She owns and runs a distillery, and they've been turning vodka into hand sanitizer for a month. Now, yes, is that a marketing thing? Yes. Is she helping the community? Yes, but it's keeping her brand top of mind with her customers in the community. So when we come out of this, people remember what J. Carver Distillery did. People remember the compassion that the Las Vegas community showed, saying you are our most important people and we are going to come back, but right now your safety and is top of mind to us.
Yes, absolutely. And you've heard me say this one before, so I'm going to just, those of you that might not have been on some, I can't stop saying it. During World War II, you couldn't buy a car, yet Ford never stopped advertising. And their tagline, there's a Ford in your future, has become my tagline. I saying now, hashtag there's a meeting in your future. There's a trip in your future. There's a celebration in your future. Hashtag, you know, I put there's, you know, this, your hotel in their future. Building resilient, like love, putting your arms around a community is part of helping rebuild it. We're not out there, you know, like after, you know, my whole family lives in Houston. I've been through more, you know, hurricanes and Harvey and the floods that you can imagine. I have been part of rebuilding. You know, my daughter lost everything in Ike, the hurricane in Galveston. And yeah, we had to rebuild. That's physically rebuilding. This is emotionally rebuilding. So we know that in these times, what we say the normal times, 84% of decisions started with a referral. I can assure you that everything you're doing right now will build trust. If you are sitting back just watching this pass you by and you've not been connected with people via LinkedIn, those of you that are working via your CRM, reaching out every day, getting up and going to work all day long. Because I've had people say to me, well, I work for a few hours in the morning and then I just kind of, you know, mess around the rest of the day. Okay, that's fine. Now, if you're homeschooling, like you're not messing around, by the way, you're having to then do your stuff with your kids. I get that. But if you really think about it, you can leave work at 4 o'clock instead of 5 o'clock. Now you may think I'm like out of my mind. I'm not out of my mind because I would have never guessed that this much work would have been here for me to do. I never would have guessed that. I'm typing notes from every meeting I'm on, sending them to the clients. I never would have guessed, but I'm building trust. And after COVID-19, which I never want to say again, I'm telling you that will be even greater. So
Mark, did you have I think Mark might have had a comment there.
Comment, Mark.
It was only to say 2 weeks ago, you said something to me and it's stuck with me ever since. And it's your connections now will define you on the other side. And that there's been nothing truer that I've heard in the last 2 weeks. I think of that every time. Those connections now will define me on the other side because there will be another side. So it's a great way of thinking at the moment for all of us.
I agree. I agree. And I think that that is all, and it's not just, it's not your touch points. That's important. It's the whole attitude. It's the whole showing up. I mean, I've been on webinars and I'm not kidding. And we can't see all of you. So you can be looking any way you want. But if you're on webinars with your organization and there's even 30 of you and you're like this, laying back like this, okay? Stop it. Set up, get up, stop clicking the pen, get in the game. I have been on webinars and the VP of sales and marketing, the president of the company, the GMs are on there and they're like laying back, like I'm looking at them going, what are you doing? And some of these people are not furloughed that were doing this. These people are just working from home, okay? So it's important that you do show up because that's how you're gonna be remembered. It is gonna define you. So there are markets that are still open and working and traveling, and there's a lot of hotels. If you look at the limited service hotels, Hilton Garden Inns, Extended Stay of America is a client of ours. They have, you know, hundreds and hundreds of hotels. They're running an 80% occupancy. Every one of their hotels are open. Now remember, it's limited service. You know, people are staying for months at a time. They're having the best RevPAR they've ever had. there's a lot of business open and working. So start looking at those businesses now because they're already traveling. So they have had no problem being out. You know, just like our restaurant that you've heard me talk about, we own a restaurant here in Orange County, and we did have to pivot. I mean, we closed down for 3 days. It's a fine dining steakhouse, and we had to buy all the stuff to do takeout. Well, we had a very limited menu, and last week on Easter, we've never been open on Easter in 17 years. We said we'd open for Easter and have takeout. And I said to Dave, our partner, let's not do ham and stuff that they could do at home because that's easy, they can do that. Let's do something like roast lamb or prime rib that they wouldn't maybe make at home. We sold 500 covers. We made more money on Easter this year because of low labor than we made on New Year's Eve. Now, Dave said to me, wow, what do you think? Should we just turn into to go? I go, no, Dave, that people aren't going to want to do that forever. That was like during a crisis. But what it did do is remind me, and now we've looked at our pre-opening, we know we're not going to be able to open with the full 150 seats, okay? We're going to have to open with less when we open. So what I said is it's going to be reservations only, and we're going to take a credit card because we're not messing around. If you actually want that seat, you got to book it. You're going to have it because there's a lot of people that are going to want to get in and start having a cocktail in a restaurant, okay? And eating. I said, and then we'll keep the takeout going for those that don't get in. So we'll create a sense of urgency. Like people will be like, oh my gosh, I got a reservation for like June 1st. Oh, really? I got mine for June 2nd. I want to create it like it's the most popular gig in town. So by the time we get back to we can fully open, people will be excited to be back in that environment. So take a look, food and beverage. I mean, all the big US foods, all the big liquor companies. I mean, they've never had better numbers in probably the last 5 years. Legal, technology. There's so many of these that are absolutely moving and grooving. So I'm going to let you read this. I think this is really cool. So go ahead, Kim. I moved it so you can see everything.
Yeah, no, I think along the lines of just some of the marketing you can do, I think there are also sensitive ways that we can be saying, we're open for business and we want to help you. And this is just one specific LinkedIn post I found saying, hey, I'm doing everything I can. I'm trying to help my employees out. I'm trying to keep my hotel open. If you need anything, we're here. And I think that is a sensitive way to go about saying, we'd like to have your business and we'd like to come alongside you and help you in this time if you're in need of these things, because the world has changed so much.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, she blocked out everywhere it's from and all of that, but this is the sort of thing that is a touch point that should be out there at all times, which is what we've been talking about. As we prepare to come out of this, this is a time to help, because remember, we've talked about this before. We've said the value proposition is find out what their issues are, come up with some actions that will help solve those. Well, now the issues are different because now as companies, I have a call with our law firm because they're going to get ready to start moving some people back in. So I said the issues before that, if you were on any of my calls, where they weren't doing their lineup, okay? So I started running lineups for them and helping them do their lineup, which is like we all do, okay? Now the issues are going to be different. The issues are, what are we going to do with the employee dining room? How are we going to do that? They have a conference services team. So now I'm going back to them with what's going to be the move-in? How are we going to do this? What's it going to look like? So every one of your customers are going to have different issues as we come out of this. You want to be that resource. Again, saying, would you like us to facilitate some webinars with some of our subject matter experts on how we're going to do social distancing? Because remember, a lot of your clients that actually book with you have their own conference space. Law firms, the big Deloitte, some of them you run, but some of them you don't, you know what I mean? So if you were, because they only know what they don't know, right? So if you were to say, and the law firms are the ones I'm thinking of that we do a training in, they have their own conference planning teams that work for the law firm. So if you know that you do, like, let's say you do their partner retreats, because they don't do those there, and they don't do their administrative retreats. So if you say, so how's your conference planning team going for getting your dining room set up at the law firms? Well, we're starting to work on some plans. I'd love to facilitate a webinar with your team, okay, from the law firm, and our people from our team on what we're doing, and share some best practices. Fabulous buying you some love. You know what I mean? Because they're going to go, that's great, because they don't have access to all the things we're doing with all the other hotels and the associations. They're going to go, well, that's great. And you're not saying to them, that's so good you have your own meeting space, because they don't do all their meetings there. They do some corporate meetings in their offices. Let's help them do it right. And who are they going to call for their big stuff? You, for their big celebrations, for their big partner retreats. And replying quickly to any request, absolutely so vitally important. So let's talk a little bit about people development, okay? I can't stress this enough. Again, I don't know, there's so many of you on the call. I don't know how many of you are working and how many of you are furloughed, because a lot of people that are furloughed call in on their own, and I love that. I give you so much kudos, okay? As leaders, if you're leaders listening to me, you better develop a plan to bring everybody back based on some anticipated business levels. It's really important to make sure that as we bring people in, because there's a couple things that happen. One is there is a guilt feeling for people that weren't furloughed, and there's this sense of, what do? I've been doing Mary's job, okay? And now Mary's coming back. What do I do? Don't make people figure that out themselves. It's emotional enough that Kim, let's say, was furloughed, and I've been doing my job and Kim's job because I wasn't, okay? Now we're getting back to business levels. Kim's coming back. Don't make Kim and I fight it out on accounts. You can just picture the drama that goes on in your hotels before this ever happened. Well, I actually handle associations based in Chicago. Well, I know, but this one's coming from DC. Yeah, but their headquarters is in Chicago. Okay, we had that problem before COVID. So as a leader, I want you to think about, what's my plan to look at the market segments? Have we repositioned who's handling what segment? Who's handling what geographic territory? Get this done before you turn on the light switch and everybody shows back up. Put everybody on a call prior to that, saying, I've reorganized the market segments based on the fact that we're going to come back at different levels. Kim, you're now going to be focusing on this. Cindy, you're going to be focusing on that. So I want you to start getting your head around those. Do this in advance, all right? You are going to need refresher training. So I've had people say to me, I feel like I've lost my what do you call it? Zoom, whatever. Mojo. You've lost your, what's it called?
Mojo.
Mojo. See, I gotta get good with my little words. I feel like the prospecting, like getting on the phone and what am I going to say? So let's create lists for them. You know, the sanitation protocols. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, are we going to actually take temperatures? Okay, which I'm fine with. I take my temperature every day just to make sure I'm fine. And I'm telling you, what if one of our attendees comes down to go into the meeting or gets ready to check in, and at the front door we take their temperature and they have a temperature? Do we just go, you have a temperature, you have to go now? Okay. What am I going to say to that person? How am I going to explain that? I've got to be trained on some empathy and problem solving, because I'm not saying that all of you have this issue. I have this issue. I am the nicest person ever, but I have been accused of not being that empathetic. I just want you to know. And I'm very empathetic. But what happens is my tone of voice, it's my tone. I come across even before this happened, people would have a little sniffle. I'd say, well, let me get you some Sudafed or something. I mean, I won't say that again. I've got allergies right now. I've been sneezing like crazy. I keep saying to people, I'm totally fine. It's allergy season in California. empathy. I am watching how I say things because it's going to be difficult to not just kind of blow something off. So make sure you pay attention to that. So that was our adapt now, right? Our adapt strategy now. Now let's take a look at how we are going to adapt for the future. Don't lower rates. Don't set the precedent. It's okay for them to cancel through this, but then we got to look at it, stay in touch, make sure that we are doing, everything we can to get the third and fourth quarter booked. You saw June came up loud and clear, which made me very happy when I saw that. Be flexible. Don't just send emails. Don't just make sure we're being very clever in how we talk to people. Create some of these detailed plans that we know work with PR, marketing. Look for opportunities for some of the healthcare business and the FEMA, all the teleconferencing with medical. I'm working with doctors on how to do their Zoom patient call, because I'm not kidding. The first session I did, there were 10 doctors on, and this is with the medical group we work with. And we're teaching them, presentation skills, because when they first started, we were Zooming where their office is in their home, and it's like the laundry was hanging. I said, you guys can't have the laundry hanging behind you. Okay, can we do like a, like Mark has the back screen of like The Office? And they looked at me like I had 4 heads. And I said, and by the way, you have to wear your white jacket. And they were like, why? I said, because you're a doctor. I mean, can you act like it? So there's a lot of medical meetings that are going to come out of this. And we already mentioned that leisure will come back and probably recover a little bit before a lot of the corporate. There's going to be, though, different timelines. And I said domestic will probably recover faster than international. But domestic is pan-European, UK, Asia. Look what's going on in China. They're flying all over the place. Japan and US. So the competitive landscape for all of you listening is going to look a little different for every single one of you out there, for sure. The timeline, though, is that we've got a wealth of data. There's so much information out there, and I've told everybody during this time, if you still have access to your CRM, this is where you should be identifying and analyzing all these clients that have the potential to be able to pick up and get going, without a doubt. I think we've chatted already about the space and the patterns and the groups being smaller, technology. We've talked about that. I've talked about furloughed staff the entire time. Okay, I am telling you, if you're furloughed and you're listening to me, you would be on my tomorrow team. I give kudos to you like you can't imagine. I have the most respect. And I mean, it's difficult for all of us, but I will tell you, when we turn on the lights, this is not just going to happen tomorrow. It's not just going to happen. We also have to remember that when we open, when the hotel is not fully functioning, we can't roll our eyes and be like, we have to know that it's going to be okay. And what we want to do is make sure that we're sharing in advance. So when you check in, we're going to have only room service available. We're only going to have the bar area open in 2 different areas. We're turning a meeting room into a place, whatever. You also want to make sure risk management, your lawyers and your risk management team are helping you with the waivers and all the things that we may not have to do. So think about it. Think about the association business. I mean, that could really, there's a lot of associations that have not been able to stay afloat right now because people aren't paying dues and doing different things. So, you've got to think about that. And people will be expecting discounts. Like, they will. But we're a business too. Everybody's a business. So you can't just go like, okay. So I want you to ask this, we're not going to ask you to fill this in. This is for you to talk to your own leadership about. How confident are you with how well you've been educated on handling these challenges? All these things we've talked about on this call, I want you to sit down and I want you to say to your team, if you're the leader, I want you to ask this of everybody. All right, have I given you enough information? How confident are you to talk to your clients? They must absolutely have understanding. We went over this before, but I just want to touch base. Remember, we're going to have more intimate, local focused events. Make sure you're reaching out to your local community. branded hand sanitizers, hybrid events, giving back, local suppliers. That's why making sure you're out there, the health screening, the waivers, the food service, any intentional brand experiences that you can do, just like we mentioned with Vegas and what they're doing. When you get ready to distance, make sure you are showing people what it's going to look like, because there might be more casual meetings set up. So make sure you figure that out with your teams. Health and wellness is no longer going to be, it's not about having just a spa. So let's talk about, maybe we have a health and wellness professional that will come in. The standards, mobile usage, we're going to have an app for our menu. People aren't going to be just having menus in our restaurant. So think about how we're going to, handle things and deal with passports and digital checkout and all these things to kind of, accelerate. I'm sure all of you have received from your bank, all your credit cards that are just tap. So they're very much advanced in how they're doing that. So as I start to pull this together, remember, we are not really in unprecedented times. We've been there before. Think of all the organizations that have come and gone because somebody was much more clever, innovative. The world is going to be a little different. How will you change? How will you have the resilience to make it happen so you're not just in survival mode? I think this is interesting. Following the Gulf War, Marriott split their hotels to Marriott International to host hotels. 9/11, look at security. We used to walk right through, walk outside, get on the plane, right? After the financial crisis, there was a ton of sharing economies because people lost their jobs. So what's going to come out of post-COVID? So you need to be on that cutting edge thinking about that. That to me is disruptive innovation. That's what disruptive innovation is. It's about getting better, always looking forward, and being different. Couple last minute things that you can do is with your customers. We've seen these, it's so fun. Self-guided scavenger hunts, giving local residents kind of the courage to get out. So think about your hotel, self-guided to go out and look at plants or flowers, pop quizzes that you can do during Zoom that maybe you can do, because if they can't all go to a big cocktail party, maybe they go out in teams of 3 or 4 and they go do different fun things when they're back. Having insider talks about different things, ranging from, tea appreciation to hand-pulled noodle classes. This is all the stuff that's out there on Zoom, but how can we bring this into the hotel in case it's not going to be just the normal, 50 people get together for a cocktail party? So I end with this. You can't get to success without the courage and rumbling of being vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable. Don't be the smartest person in the room. Don't act like you know everything. Enjoy this journey. It really, honestly, has been a journey that has helped every single one of us get that much better. So upcoming, we have, and there might be more, we just have this one, but the shorts that IAC's doing April 24th is going to be on food and beverage, which I think will be really exciting, defining reality, dealing with today's demands. So obviously you can register on the IAC online. And before I turn it over to Mark to close it up, is there any other questions or anything I can answer? You're muted, Kim.
My dog was barking. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. We know you're at home working.
You know where I'm home. Back to the earlier question, there was a follow-up to the question to Mark about the IX standards, about when they thought they might be rolling those out that you had discussed a little earlier.
Yes, in terms of timing, the next 3 weeks we think are going to be critical because we're going to start to see some of the conditions of which the early lockdowns worldwide come with. So we are preparing ourselves to be ready for Virtual Connect, which is on May 18th, with a robust set of ideas and standards. Like I said before, we're being really careful not just to pick disparate opinions out there in terms of what could be with zero background, because we could create the monster that we have to live with for the next 5 years if we think about it that way. So May 18th, we'll be ready for the Festival of Learning, which is IAC Virtual Connect, to be interspersed with lots of those guidelines, options, different scenarios. And of course, we have the wonderful Cindy Novotny as our keynote speaker on the Monday morning for that session. So we're excited about that, Cindy.
All right,
It'll be hard to do like a keynote sitting down. I may have to get a camera, stand up. I'm more of a stand up.
Is this going to be a very first way? I have to say, though, you have injected the competitive spirit back into the audience today, because I saw a comment on there that I haven't seen anything like this since before all of this situation, which was, Mark, you know, we've sent you a virtual background on ETC venues so you can replace the Chateau Form one that you've got behind you and had for a week now. That's what I love about our community.
I love that.
So there we are. I had an ETC Venues London one. That's why I switched midway through, just so I could show that I wasn't on the back foot for once.
Right.
I love that. That is so clever. Way to go. Whoever sent that out. Cheers to you.
Send me more. Send me more for
Right.
all your venues, and I'll keep rotating them.
Good.
Right,
So are there any other questions?
There's one more. There's a couple comments, and I think we can gather all the comments, because all the ideas that came earlier, I think we should share with everyone. So I'll pass that on to Kate as well. But there is one final question. One thing that might come up is for larger conferences that are reliant on delegate numbers to appease exhibitors, paying for a substantial part of the event costs. How do you feel this will change into the future?
Okay, so just let me make sure I get this right. So they're saying people would be coming to an event paying $5,000, but now they're going to be virtually seeing it. Is that what you're saying?
I think what they're wondering is, we relied on big numbers before to make exhibitors happy, because exhibitors were sponsoring the event and helping, you know, alleviate the cost. If lots of people aren't coming to the exhibition, right, and seeing all of that, then how will this kind of change in the future?
So I'll give an answer and let Mark. Oh, okay. I'll give you a quick thing. This is another innovative idea I have. I would be looking at all the events we've done with exhibitors in the past, and I would be getting on the phone and calling every one of them, because those are companies, and saying, you know, we want to brainstorm with you some really creative ways for you to exhibit virtually during some of these hybrid meetings that are coming. And we'd love to start, because I can see some very clever things that they would send to people's homes, right? So if I am a, you know, the giveaways, they all have their little giveaways. I would get the list, and I would do some really cool home delivery things. So I would, right now, that is so good you brought that up, because I didn't even think about that. I would get on the phone with all those vendors and exhibitors that you've worked with in the past that have come to your hotels, and have some really good, and you could get 3 or 4 of them on and do about 5 or 6 of these. But Mark, go ahead.
I'll be really quick. I'm speaking from experience. We've just moved all of our event virtual for May. As you know, we forecast 30% of our exhibitors would travel with us. 95% are traveling with us, and new exhibitors and sponsors have been in touch recently, because they have to find a way to get to their market. So I would be sending that message to your customers. Do not be afraid. That face-to-face is good, but they still got to find a way to connect if there is no face-to-face for them. So have confidence.
Right, because this is a bridge. We're not going to be there forever. So that is your opening to call all of these exhibitors that you work with in your hotels that come to different meetings, and start really chatting with them about what you can do and ideas, because they can move. And then Mark will be able to share with you what some of the clever things they might do for the May conference. That'll be very, very exciting. Good. All right. Well, we thank you very much. Our emails, Shelley Marlowe handles the IAC account. My email's up there as well. If you have any questions, we are absolutely here for you. And I genuinely mean it. I promise you there will be a day I will be hugging you again and shaking a hand. I'm not afraid, okay? You may not want me to, but then you'll go like this and you'll say, stand back, and I will. But I welcome the day when I get to kiss on the cheeks again. I can't wait to get to France. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you all. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you.
Amazing as always.